rhythmically against the windows, a soft prelude to the chaos that was about to unfold. Thunder growled in the distance, its low rumble vibrating through the walls. The house, dimly lit by the flickering glow of the TV, felt larger than usual. Emptier. Shadows danced on the edges of the room, twisting and shifting as if something unseen moved with them. The air grew heavier, like the weight of an unseen presence pressing down on everything. Every creak of the old wooden floor sent a jolt through my chest, and for a moment I thought I heard something beyond the rain. A faint sound, a single knock. At first I brushed it off as my imagination playing tricks on me. Stormy nights had a way of making you see and hear things that weren't there. But then, it came again. This time, louder. 3 distinct knocks echoed from the front door, slow and deliberate. My pulse quickened, the warmth in my hands turning to an icy chill. Nobody was supposed to be here. My parents were gone for the night and I was alone. I sat still, eyes fixed on the hallway that led to the door, every muscle in my body frozen in place. Another knock, louder, more forceful. My breath hitched in my throat as I stared, waiting for something, anything, to happen. I slowly stood up, every step towards the front door feeling like a mistake. My heartbeat echoed in my ears, louder than the distant thunder outside. The soft glow of the hallway light barely reached the front entrance, leaving most of it swallowed in shadow. I approached cautiously, each creak of the floorboards beneath my feet feeling deafening. My breath was shallow, controlled, as if breathing too loudly would give me away. Reaching the door, I pressed my ear against it, straining to hear anything on the other side. Nothing, just the rain. For a moment I felt relief, convincing myself it could have been the storm playing tricks on me. But then a voice came, low, gravelly, and far too close. "I know you're in there," it said, followed by a long pause. My body stiffened, every hair on my neck standing on end. My mind raced with options, each one worse than the last. I thought of calling someone, but my phone was still in the den. I glanced down the hall behind me, my instincts urging me to run. But something about that voice rooted me in place. It wasn't pleading, it wasn't friendly. It was cold and steady, like someone who had nothing to lose. Another knock, harder this time, shaking the door in its frame. My breath caught in my throat, panic bubbling just beneath the surface. I backed away slowly, eyes locked on the door as if expecting it to burst open at any moment. The rain grew heavier outside, masking any subtle noises that might have signaled if he was still there. But deep down, I knew he hadn't left. I moved backward, step by step, never taking my eyes off the front door. My breathing was shallow, each inhale shaky and unsteady. I tried to convince myself that it was just a stranger caught in the storm, someone looking for help. But that voice, it didn't sound like someone in need. It sounded like someone who enjoyed being in control. My back hit the wall behind me, and I felt trapped between 2 choices: stay hidden or run. My eyes darted toward the den at the end of the hallway. The phone was there, but so were the large glass doors that led to the backyard. I'd be exposed, vulnerable. Another knock rang out, but this one wasn't on the front door. It came from the side window. Closer, too close. I sucked in a sharp breath, pressing myself tighter against the wall, my heart thudding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. The knock at the window wasn't like before. It wasn't loud or urgent. It was slow, measured, a deliberate, steady tap, 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 like he knew I could hear it. My eyes slowly shifted to the window down the hall, just barely visible from where I stood. The curtain was drawn, but I could see the faintest outline of a figure on the other side, motionless. My chest tightened as I watched the shadow tilt its head to the side, as if it were listening for me. I covered my mouth with my hand, trying to muffle my breathing. Seconds passed like hours. The shadow didn't move, didn't speak. It just stood there, listening, watching, waiting. The silence was worse than the knocks. Every second that passed felt like a countdown to something inevitable. My eyes stayed locked on the outline by the window. my body frozen in place. I didn't dare move, didn't dare breathe too loudly. I strained my ears, trying to hear any shift in the rain or the faintest sound of footsteps, but there was nothing, just the steady hum of the storm outside. My fingers dug into the wall behind me, nails pressing into the cold surface as if it could somehow anchor me in place. Suddenly the shadow moved, a slow, deliberate step to the side, then another, disappearing from view. My chest tightened with the realization that I had no idea where he was now. My eyes darted to the back door in the den, my heart racing with the fear that I had just lost sight of him. A sharp clatter echoed from the back of the house, the unmistakable sound of something metallic hitting the ground. My heart jumped to my throat, my body reacting before my mind could catch up. I spun around, eyes wide, scanning the darkness at the end of the hallway. The kitchen. It came from the kitchen. My pulse thudded in my ears as I took a slow step forward, trying to peer around the corner. The dim light from the stovetop cast faint shadows across the tile floor, but everything looked still. Too still. My breath hitched as I saw it. The back door was slightly ajar, swaying gently with the pull of the wind. I felt an overwhelming urge to run, to bolt for the front door and into the storm, but my legs wouldn't move. My eyes locked onto the door, dreading the moment it would swing open just a little wider. The creak of the back door slowly opening sent a jolt of terror through my entire body. It moved inch by inch as if someone was pushing it deliberately slow just to drag out the moment. I could see the rain-soaked darkness beyond it, but that wasn't what made my breath catch in my throat. A foot stepped inside, dirty, soaked, and bare. My chest tightened as a second foot followed. No rush, no hesitation. Whoever it was, they were in no hurry. My mind screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. I was a prisoner of my own fear, rooted to the spot as the figure slowly entered the kitchen. I could hear his slow, steady breaths over the rain. He stood there for a moment, his head tilting slightly, listening. He knew I was there. I felt it. I knew he felt it too. I moved before I could think, every muscle in my body finally responding to the primal need to survive. I bolted down the hallway, my bare feet slamming against the floor with every step. I didn't dare look back. I didn't need to. I could hear him. Heavy, deliberate footsteps following close behind, each one louder than the last. My breath came out in short, frantic gasps as I reached the den, my eyes darting toward the garage door. It felt like miles away. My fingers fumbled with the lock, heart pounding so violently it felt like it might burst. The footsteps were faster now, closing in. I could feel the weight of his presence behind me, his breath just beyond my neck. With a desperate twist, the lock clicked and I yanked the door open, throwing myself into the cold, dark garage. The door slammed shut behind me, and I spun to lock it, hands trembling so hard it took 3 tries to turn the bolt. Silence. The only sound was my ragged breathing, echoing off the cold concrete walls. But I knew better than to believe it was over. The silence didn't last. A single, sharp bang hit the garage door behind me, making me flinch so hard I nearly fell. Then another, harder, louder. Each slam sent a shockwave through the metal, rattling the entire frame. My breath came in shallow, rapid bursts as I backed away, eyes locked on the door. I could see the faint outline of his shadow through the thin gap at the bottom. He wasn't knocking. He was testing it. The pounding stopped, and the sudden quiet was worse than the noise. I stood frozen, every muscle tense, waiting for the next move. Seconds dragged by like hours. Then, slowly, I heard it. A scraping sound. Metal against metal. He was dragging something across the outside of the garage door, slow and deliberate. The sound sent chills through my spine like nails on a chalkboard, but lower, more menacing. I pressed myself against the far wall, eyes locked on the door. Every breath a silent prayer that he wouldn't find a way in. The scraping stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of rain pattering on the roof. My chest heaved as I tried to steady my breathing, every second of silence feeling like a trap. Then, from the far corner of the garage, I heard it. A low, raspy inhale. Slow, deliberate. It wasn't coming from outside. It was inside. My heart stopped. my eyes slowly shifting toward the darkness in the corner. I couldn't see him, but I knew he was there. Watching, waiting, closer than I ever realized.